Hello, everyone. This year's first eclipse season started 2 weeks ago with the total lunar eclipse. And on the 29th, we are going to have the Aries new moon with a partial solar eclipse, which will be visible in Canada, actually in the eastern portion of Canada, and partly in England as well, but not in Central Europe, unfortunately. And I gave the title to this particular video, Can We Soar? Will we be able to soar? For several reasons. First of all, because the Aries new moon is always the most potent new moon in the solar year. Sometimes, I mean, very rarely it occurs on the equinox, the vernal equinox. It's going to be a very potent year. But this year's, it's 9 days later, and it is on Algenib, which is gamma Pegasus. That is why the soaring could be possible. But if you look around, what you really find is that everyone is going to have the whole world lost its reality, sense of reality, and common sense in general. So this is the chart for London, and as you can see, it will occur on March 29th at 10:58 a.m. London time. And we have in the London chart, there is a Cancer rising with Mars on the ascendant, which is a very militant placement. Lilith and Pallas Athena are again getting closer and closer, the two strong, independent feminine. There is a fourfold conjunction, partly in Aries, 0 degree Aries, and in Pisces, with Neptune, Venus, retrograde Mercury, and the North Node. And Saturn, of course, is a little bit behind, but it's kind of still there. There's a 10th house sun-moon conjunction. The moon is the chart ruler, so the new moon actually rules this particular chart. And the Chiron Aries conjunction, which is this year's and next year's main karmic astrological feature, is getting again tighter. They will become exact a couple of weeks later, and then in October, and then next year. So it's going to be a very decisive conjunction, because Chiron is our karmic wounds, and Aries means drastically altered outward circumstances, and all this in the sign of Mars, Aries, which is on the ascendant. So it doesn't look good at the moment. Cretins and idiots, and I think I can never tell whether they are just idiots or also very dangerously stupid and simply ugly people who are leading Europe. Because at the moment, if you look at what's happening in Europe's leaders, they have a triple war. They have an ideological war against Trump. They have an energy war against and sanction war against Russia, and they also have an economic war against China. Actually, it's a trade war against China. So there are three fronts for Europe, and Europe doesn't have money, doesn't have power, doesn't have anything. It has no resources. It shot itself in the foot with all the sanctions against Russia. Russia is getting stronger, and the liberal leaders won't see this in Europe. So it's really ridiculous. That's kind of included in this particular chart. So again, it will happen on March 29th, 2 minutes before 11 a.m. London time. And these are the highlights. This particular chart, I mean, it's Star Series 9 North. If you look at what Bernard Brady says about this particular, it's not a nice series, Here are the original placements. If you are not familiar with eclipses, this is the only phenomenon, astrological or astronomical phenomenon, which is not in continuous cycles. It has a beginning and an end. A whole cycle, a series takes about 1,300 years. There are 72, 73 eclipses repeating themselves every 18 years in the same series with practically the same geometry. As you can see, the original series had a Venus-Mercury conjunction. This series also has a Venus-Mercury conjunction. And this is a militant and not very nice, series. What Bernadette Brady says about it, it's very physical and physically expressive. There's great physical effort or violence included, sudden physical events, which could be positive as well. But the approach that we should take is not to hide, but somehow to take part in the physical activities. But of course, we have to watch for safety as well. So here's the eclipse path. As you can see, part of Greenland and Canada are affected, and slightly the United Kingdom as well, and the western portion of Europe. But actually, the action will be in Canada and the eastern portion of Canada. And here is the aspect grid at planetarium for this particular conjunction, eclipse. If you take a look at the sun-moon's position, you can understand why it's partial, why it's only a partial solar eclipse, simply because the sun and the moon are conjunct in the longitude, but not exactly conjunct in the declination. And if you take a look at the grid, you see that the sun-moon conjunction doesn't really have too many aspects. And whenever this happens, those aspects that are there are kind of amplified. The first aspect the sun-moon has is a contraparallel by Saturn. And if you take a look at the planetarium, you will understand what this means. It means that they are at equal distance from the celestial equator, about 4.5 to 4.5 degrees to the south and north, almost 5 degrees actually. So that is a contraparallel. If they were on the same size, they would be parallel. And of course, the sun and the moon are parallel, but not exactly, not to the minute. Okay, and the first longitude aspect is Uranus, making a semisquare to the sun-moon. And we have two so-called cerebral or aspects which belong to the quintile series, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. So that's what it is. And if we take into account all the celestial objects that kind of aspect the sun and the moon, we will have the following complex planetary picture, which are not really intertwined. It's only the sun and the moon that kind of incorporates them all. There is a very strong and beautiful talent triangle. Again, this is the quintile series: Sun, Moon, Trans-Pluto, and Astrea. There's a biquintile and two trideciles. And the biquintile, 144 degrees, describes talent and ingeniousness that you have accumulated through a whole incarnation cycle, through many, many, many lives. And the tridecile describes ingeniousness that comes through altered states of consciousness. So if you take this apart, there's Trans-Pluto, which is the dimension jump. That is something that adds to your sun-moon conjunction. You can channel information. And Astrea has two trideciles, one to the sun-moon and the other one to Trans-Pluto, giving you the ability to look behind the curtain, so to speak. So that's a talent triangle. And there's also a finger of fate with Mars, Uranus, and Astrea. At the apex, Astrea provides you the karma breaking ability. And for this, we have the Uranus-Mars sextile, which provides free will. This is the free will aspect. Anytime you see Uranus and Mars in aspect, it provides you with free will. So that's the finger of fate. There's also a mutable water engine with engines are made up by a trine, a square, and a quincunx. So they incorporate the drive of the square, the blessing of the trine, and the karmic intent of the quincunx. So they're very powerful engines, karmic engines, really. And this is a mutable water engine between Mars, Saturn, and Astrea. If you have looked at the aspects lately, you could see, probably you could follow the fact that ever since your Mars turned direct, it slowed down very, very considerably. It almost didn't actually cover any distance for a couple of days. And then slowly, slowly, it was picking up speed. And slowly, the Mars Saturn trine, it has been looming over us for the last 2, 3 weeks. Now it's becoming exact, but it was a long process. What usually takes only like for 4, 5 days, this takes 4, 5 weeks because Saturn is fast at the moment and Mars is slow at the moment. And what you see in the peace talks, either in Gaza or in the Ukrainian front, that's exactly it. Everything is stalled. The trine has not yet materialized. So Saturn is stalling both the war or the military engine, but also the talks about it and also the solution, kind of. But actually, this mutable water engine gives us hope that they will change old embedded karma and karma in the making as well, because Australia can break not just old embedded karma, but also karma in the making. There's also a little engine. A little engine is made up by a sextile instead of a trine with the square and the quincunx. So it's less powerful, it's smaller in its impact. And it's formed by Saturn, Uranus, and Australia. So again, you have Saturn's blocking energy, Uranus, not Uranus, Mars is fast forward energy, and Australia's karma breaking abilities there. And there's also something that I call a complex triangle. I haven't put there here complex triangle. I forgot to put it there, but that's what I call it. A complex triangle is formed when there are the participating aspects are there, but they are not of the same aspect family. And this is precisely what we get with the Sun, Moon, Mars, and Uranus, because Mars, Uranus is a sextile. Mars and Sun Moon is a bisextile, and Uranus Sun Moon is a semi-square. So that's what you have: a 60, a 45, and a 103. And they are slightly out of orb, but this is why they can connect. And that is what you have here. You have the sextiles potential, the semi-squares, slight tension, and the septile, the septile series is about transcendence and all kinds of mysticism. Let's put it this way: 103 degrees, which is a biseptile, gives you double the mysticism, and it's between the Sun, Moon, and Mars. Interestingly enough. And there are a few very revealing transcendental celestial objects. First of all, on the Sun, Moon, you have Europe. Yes, the fate of Europe is being just created. And again, they want to fight a war against Ukraine. No, defending Ukraine against Russia. They want to fight some kind of commercial war against China and an ideological war against Trump. And they don't have the people for that. They don't have the weapons. They don't have the money. They don't have the means. They are idiots. And that is exactly what you see in this particular new moon eclipse. And there's Plato, the philosopher, that we should really look at it from a philosopher point of view. And there's Algenib, which is the tip of the flying horse. We are going to look at it. It's Gamma Pegasus. The stars of Pegasus are quite prominent in this particular new moon. And on Mars, you have Asterope, the starry phase. So we should really look up the stars. Rome, which kind of tells me that Italy will have a strong impact in this particular new moon. And Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. She's the counterpart of Pallas Athena. And Pollux, which is beta Gemini, which is a beta star, but getting much brighter than Castor, which is the alpha star, interestingly enough. On Saturn, you have Markov, which is Alpha Pegasus, which is the heart, or the tip, not the tip, the stem of it's the heart. We can use the heart of Pegasus. And the flying horse, of course, we are going to look at it in a minute. And on Uranus, you have Hephaestus, who is the lame goldsmith who is ugly and a hunchback and he has all kinds of physical problems, but what he creates is always perfect. And Amenhotep, who is a dynasty forming pharaoh in Greek mythology, in Greek history. And Lempo, who was the creator god for the Finnish people, but later on in Christian times, he is demonized. He was made out a horrible demon. And Capulus, which is 33 HVI Perseus, which is the tip of Perseus' sword. This is a nebula. And it's a very strong masculine mystery school. And on Australia, we have Ras Ahagu, which is Alpha Ophiuchus, which Ophiuchus, of course, the serpent bearer, is the healer in the sky, and Ras Ahagu is the alpha star of this healing energy, and we badly need healing. And here are the main stars of Pegasus. The alpha star, here's Markab, the heart of the celestial horse. Soaring, I put in an R, sorry, soaring thoughts. So that's why I asked whether we could soar really. And then Beta Pegasus is the foot of the Pegasus of the flying horse, and it's the main healing word of suicide victims. And here's the gamma star Algenib, which is the tip of the wing. So this is what reaches the heights in the sky. That's the highest. You can reach the highest, but you can really soar. That's where we can soar, and that's on the Sun Moon conjunction. And there's also a beautiful midpoint structure. As you could see, there were not too many aspects for this particular new moon. Really, not. It's very. If you don't work with the quintile series, you only have really the semisphere to Uranus, and that's it. But there's a beautiful midpoint structure because this particular new moon is on the Jupiter-Pluto midpoint. As you can see, the distance is 132 degrees, so there's no aspect between Jupiter and Pluto, but the Sun-Moon conjunction is right between them. And this is one of the most potent midpoints there is, because it's a super success midpoint. Jupiter gives everything, I mean, it enlarges everything it touches, and nothing is ever enough for Pluto. So Jupiter-Pluto midpoints and aspects creates this super success energy that is boosting with will and energy and potentials and power and growth. So that's what this new moon is carrying for us. In the London chart, there's also a yod and a dissolved opposition. Another yod, actually. This particular yod is between Venus, Neptune, Mercury on the one hand, Sedna on the other, its creation through dissection, and the apex of the yod is Lilith, which just moved into Scorpio. So it just started a new 9 months energy pattern for the goddess energy. And here's the dissolved opposition. The Sedna Juno opposition is dissolved by Pluto. It's a bit tight. I mean, it's a bit wide for my taste. I like tighter aspects, but why not? We can give it a try. On Pluto, you have Alma, the soul, and Erato, one of the muses, the muse for erotic poetry. For the Venus, Neptune, Mercury triple conjunction, you have Osiris, Phaethon, so-called cataclysm asteroid, Giza, the seat of power and knowledge in Egypt, Borasisi, the tyrant, and Sheat, which is Beta Pegasus, which is the healing word for suicide victims. On Juno, you have Hestia, Vesta's Greek counterpart, and she describes rituals where you need to pay attention very strongly and very attentively. And Seto, which is toxic, the most toxic emotions. And on Sedna, you have Fortuna, fortune, Hathor, the mother goddess, one of the mothering goddesses of Egypt, Bacchus, altered states of consciousness, and Pelion and more Somnus have always been there. In the last 2-3 months, I spoke about them many, many times. And of course, the Pleiades, which is the home of the creator goddess. So that is what we have. And there's also in the London chart another complex planetary picture, this with the ascendant-descendant energy. And also with the so if you take a look at the chart itself, the angles create a mystic rectangle. But with Chiron, we also have a cardinal T-square. Mars ascendant, descendant, and Chiron. So Chiron is at the apex point and pushing this energy. On the other side, okay, we have a classic trapeze, actually, with Mars, the IC, Vesta, the focusing principle, and the descendant. And this, the two of them. So on the one hand, there's a T-square. On the other hand, there's a classic trapeze. This is what I call diamond or brilliant cut, because it exactly looks like a brilliant cut. At the same time, we also have a mutable T-square with the MCIC and Astrea. We really should take things into our hands and create our own future by breaking old embedded and accumulated karma. That's what Astrea suggests. There's also a mutable fire engine. Engines are made up by a trine, a square, and a quincunx, combining the blessing of the trine, the drive of the square, and the karmic intent of the quincunx. Those are very, very powerful energies. And the mutable fire engine is made up by the IC, the root or home, Astrea, the karma breaker, and Chiron, our karmic wounds. And the cardinal fire engine is made up by, again, Chiron, the IC, and not the fire. Hold on 1 second. I made a mistake here. Probably Chiron, Astrea, and IC. And then hold on 1 second. The mutable. Anyhow, and there's also a mutable water engine. Midheaven, Ascendant Mars, and Astrea. So Astrea is very, very heavily included in this particular formation. Anyhow, and these are the transcendental celestial objects. Again, opening up the hidden karmic level of the chart, and they give us further potentials how to utilize this particular new moon eclipse in Aries, which is very, very powerful, one of the most powerful eclipses in the year. On the ascendant, you have Spartacus, the fighter who is paying for his fight with his life, Archimedes, the inventor, and Eureka moment describer, and Castor is on the ascendant, while Pollux is on Mars. So you have both twins here. And as I said, according to brightness, they really swapped places. And they belong to, when you look at it, they describe the two types of the artist. One is successful, and the other one the unsuccessful artist. On Chiron, we have Ishtar, the Mesopotamian love goddess, and Apophis, one of the so-called cataclysm asteroids. Apophis is the snake that swallows the sun in Egyptian mythology. On the midheaven, you have Kant, philosopher Cassandra, the Trojan princess who doesn't want to become the lover of Apollo, the sun god, and so he punishes her by giving her clear vision and clairvoyance, but making it sure that no one believes her. That's on our midheaven. And Nessus, which is one of the centaurs that are linked to black magic, unburied corpses, unburiedness, the karma of unburiedness, and all kinds of negative and positive magical movements and phenomena. On the descendant, you have Eos, the dawn, the new energy, new potentials, and Moira, the goddess of fate, the fates. On the IC, we have Clotho, who is the first of the fates, interestingly enough, the fate who is creating the thread for your life. And on Vesta, you have Mbabambabanabadeza, which is a Zulu creator goddess, and she is utilizing the energies of nature. And on Astrea, you have Ras Al-Hagu, which is Alpha Ophiuchus, the alpha star of the healer, the celestial healer in the world. So this is a very potent new moon eclipse, and I hope we can utilize it for the good. And I also hope that Europe and England are not actually creating something horrible for us, but we, the people, do have a say in the matter, at least on our personal level, within our personal lives. Happy new moon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Bye.